In light of the recent acceleration of governments around the world effectively declaring your right to privacy and anonymity public enemy number one, Austria has finally completed their phase-out of proprietary software, much of it from Microsoft from within their military. Now, this is an effort Austria and other European countries are undertaking in order to possess greater control over the software that would be running on some of the most sensitive and important systems within their respective countries. Systems that are used for border control, interface with defence systems, the pretty important stuff. National security stuff. Eliminating the reliance on foreign corporations and their software has seemingly, all of a sudden, relatively speaking, become of quite some importance to EU member states within the past couple of years at most, and with the passing of the Interoperable Europe Act and its official adoption in November 2023, and effective enforcement from April 2024, is becoming a legally binding effort across all of Europe. This act in particular aims at enhancing interoperability across public sector digital systems in EU member states, ensuring seamless data exchange and reducing the overall size of manned administrative positions, decreasing costs and increasing efficiency, at least on paper. If that could all be done by implementing FOSS software, that would be great, but unfortunately, as a double-edged sword, the over-representation of AI-powered systems and subversion of independent national systems will also become more and more apparent as the effort of free and open source software implementation continues. But it's hardly open source software's fault that governments are choosing to sack their own workers to save costs and implement LLMs, which, if I may add, are themselves products of foreign business developments, but let's not get too hasty bashing LLMs and the companies developing them just yet. Let me get back to the FOSS side of things first, because that's what this video is about, and I am not going to go off on a tirade about AI just yet. The replacement of proprietary software with free and open source alternatives also allows for the government to pick and choose what parts of the software is needed. In the news, it's been said that LibreOffice is the choice of the Austrian military and, by extension, the government, so I doubt they'll be slicing LibreOffice Writer open to cut out the bloat, if there is any in LibreOffice Writer, but what it does allow for is for the government contractors to audit the codebase and disable any telemetry if needed and if there is any present, but also allow them to install their own telemetry if that's what they want to do, and increase the security of the software where applicable. They can essentially embrace the benefits of having a little bit of digital freedom. With Microsoft Office /365 applications, that is simply not possible. The license agreements the government would have had to agree to with Microsoft would certainly forbid them from skinning Microsoft Word and reverse engineering them if that's something that they wanted to do. Proprietary garbage that requires you to log in to use the damn thing is not something I think people enjoy, even more so when you're being forced to pay for the privilege. Though, as much as you and me would like this situation to be about the principle of using open source software as opposed to proprietary spyware crap, it's probably a little bit of that, but more so because the EU is wanting to get some fashion of diplomatic, industrial and military independence from the US and its tech companies, which I think we can all see has become more and more of a sticking point between the two entities. This was bound to happen at some point, and even with some countries being essentially extensions of the US, Europe still maintains a sense of personal independence, even if it appears to be a growing fallacy. But regardless of the reasons why Europe woke up and started creating a strategy that relies on its ability to hold itself up, it is beginning to happen. Technological independence is growing, and with a lack of significant tech companies being born and bred in Europe, free and open source software seems to be filling the gaps decades of technological reliance on US and tech companies has created. There's not exactly a European Microsoft or Google or even a purely European LLM. It's all American, and as much as I love my Ameribros, you can see how this has and is affecting European countries and why it's got the unelected bureaucratic authoritarians in Brussels worried for the future of the European project retaining its individuality. But without this video again divulging into some sort of schizophrenia-fueled political tirade about the utter state of Europe and how it got here, let's look at the bright side for a moment and see that, yes, more and more governments, aside from Austria, within the EU are progressively replacing their reliance on traditional proprietary American software providers with open source alternatives, which allow to decreasing costs, allowing for full, transparent third-party code audits, enhanced security, and increased transparency throughout the bureaucratic process. There is also talk of Austria and other countries continuing to replace the Windows operating system running on government computers with Linux-based operating systems. One of the oldest examples of this happening with a national government is the French Parliament replacing the OSs running on their Parliament's machines with Ubuntu way back in 2007, which, by the way, is, if you didn't know, Ubuntu is actually managed by Canonical, which is based in the UK and accepted Amazon advertisement money to put a shortcut to Amazon shopping on newly installed systems, but we can ignore that for now, it's fine. I'm sure if the French figured out Ubuntu is actually managed by a British company, they probably wouldn't use it, but anyway. If we go back to the Austrian government for just a second, they've also implemented a central open data platform, serving as a gateway for public sector data to foster transparency, innovation and collaboration. It can be found at data.gf.at if you're interested, and was launched back in 2012 as part of Austria's commitment to open government principles. It's managed by the Austrian Federal Chancellery, the Bundeskanzleramt, in collaboration with various federal, state and local authorities. This web portal was developed to align with various EU directives like the so-called Open Data Directive, and supports the aforementioned Interoperable Europe Act by promoting reusable, interoperable data and open standards, including, by chance, the implementation of free and open source software to enhance security, platform independence, and giving Europe a general sense of that good old American freedom. This open data platform serves to make government-held data more freely accessible and usable for citizens, businesses, researchers and developers without having to resort to bureaucratic processes like you do in many other Western countries like the US and UK, like freedom of information requests or specific inquiries to government officers for basic government statistics that they would rather you ignore. The continued trends being set by my fellow Eurobro countries like Austria is important, and you should care about it, even if you happen to be an Anglo-bro living in Burgerland, some faraway penal colony or the Kiwi Republic. Because with actual governments legitimising the use of FOSS, it can only become more prevalent, and with a greater level of adoption within these large institutions, we can, maybe naively, become more optimistic about the future of not only free, but also open source software. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel. I'm back at university from summer break, which was why there was a slight lack of videos over the past couple months, but all is back on track. I do apologise if this video seems a little bit shorter, a little bit out of the blue, but I wasn't too sure what to make a video on, so I saw this in news and thought I'd go a little bit into it, thought it was interesting, and so here we are. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.